Kathy? Amy?
I'm here. I'm
Yes.
here.
I'm here. I'm here.
Very good. That's good. About 5 minutes ago. But that's long.
I know, hang on.
We talked across the room.
Kathy,
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh, I'm having a hard time hearing, so I can hear you, Pam, but
I can't hear anyone either.
Because nobody else is on speaker but me.
okay.
So go ahead.
So Amy, you kick it off there.
So are we supposed to be seeing a channel 13 screen right now?
Yes. Yep.
All right,
Yes.
Amy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I just want to thank everyone for having us. And I would like to start off by saying we're very excited to have Hang Around Victor Day this year, even though with the pandemic and everything, we weren't able to have it last year. And we're just looking for approval to go forward with just the planning of it. This meeting tonight isn't for us to tell you all the details because we need to plan and prepare those details. I know normally we come together later on to discuss all the plans that go into what we're doing for Hang Around Victor Day. But right now we're just looking for the approval, and hopefully you've all seen the safety plan, the map, and the Devil Dash information that was sent out. So I'm not sure if everyone did see that or not.
Yep. They all have it.
I think Pam sent it to all the board members.
Okay, good. So are there any questions from what was sent out, or concerns would probably be the first thing we'd like to discuss?
Can Amy or
No, just tell me.
Okay, try again. Go ahead.
Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Oh, hold on, there's going to be an echo. I'm going to get this one higher, and then you should. Okay, try again.
thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can't hear you, but
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm looking at the COVID safety plan, and I very much appreciate the work you guys put into this. And things are changing, as you know, pretty rapidly with the COVID situation. So who knows what the situation will be in September, but I think it's wise to have the plan and adhere to it as much as possible. So my question with the COVID safety plan, I mean, you got face masks, you covered hand sanitizing, social distancing, and the cleaning of tables and chairs, and all kinds of protocols that you have to plan. Who is going to do all of that work? That's my question.
That would be you. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Okay.
I'm just being sarcastic.
What do I do when I'm done with that?
We've got volunteers, right, Amy? And
Yes, we have a list of volunteers, and my board, Kathy's board, we have a list of groups that are going to be helping out for various things inside the, certain tents, near the food, the tables, making sure everything's disinfected and hand sanitized. Also, I wanted to mention that for anyone that has a booth or a tent, all tents need to have sides and a back. They need to have hand sanitizers and face masks. That's been a requirement if they're gonna have a tent at all this year.
And just for reference, I don't know if anyone saw that Governor Cuomo lifted the mask mandate in New York State just today. It was just on the news. So as Gary said, things are changing rapidly. And we'll do our best to keep an eye on that and keep pivoting with our safety protocols as well.
Appreciate that, and just my 2 cents worth. I know that hand sanitizing and so forth is probably a good precaution, but I think more importantly is the social distancing, because there's more and more evidence that's brought out from the experts that, you know, it's an airborne disease more than it is anything else. So I think you do have plans in place. I think I read that you plan to keep things kind of moving rather than so much gathering, which is going to be quite a feat at Hang Around Victor Day. So I don't exactly know how you're going to accomplish that, but I do appreciate the effort to try and do it.
Yeah, and I think too that where we are right now with this pandemic and the guidelines, that people themselves are also very conscious of regulations, and they're, let's say, policing themselves in a lot of cases. So like Amy and I talked, a lot of the volunteers will be around to provide gentle reminders, let's say. If we see things where they're not adhering to some of the regulations.
Also, it is going to be over, you know, the Hang Around Victor Day is over 100 days out. So a lot could change within those 100 days. So we're looking forward to finding out, you know, how well everything goes in the summer.
Looking at the Devil Dash plan, and that was not created by either one of you, right? That was created by the Educational Foundation folks.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think Fleet Feet, who's running the race, Amy, right?
Correct.
They contributed to that.
So that is a really expensive COVID plan for that race. I'm assuming they got this boilerplate from, I think they did mention a race company, if you will, who boilerplated it. It's very expensive with a lot of rules and regulations and tasks and so forth. And it's a mind-boggling thing to think of a race with possibly hundreds of people in it, keeping them spread out and so forth. But I do see that they have a plan to do just that.
Well, it was my suggestion when we started the race, you know, talking about having the Double Dash, to do it more of a mud run type analysis where everyone signs up and it's a bunch of people going out in smaller waves rather than one large race. So it's going to be happening all day long, and they're going to sign up for their time. So there's not going to be as much waiting around and gathering. You come, you get in your time, you start your race, you're done, then you get to go and mingle around the rest of the event. So it's my way of, you know, keeping things moving instead of having it just, you know, a one huge race going at one time where everyone's gathering in too close together. So having it in smaller groups will be a lot more safe and easier to handle.
So when it comes to awards, are they racing against their group or still against all of the groups?
It's basically going to be against times. So once you stop, you'll know what your time is. So it's more about racing your time.
Gotcha.
So it's not like if you're in that heat, you may win that heat, but you have to see what the actual time was altogether at the very end.
And the volunteers will be solicited by the foundation?
There will be, for the Devil Dash, yes.
Okay, so those are the questions and the comments that I had. I don't know if any other board members have any? So at this point, I guess you're looking for an okay to keep going with your plan, right?
Right, and both of us will come back, like Amy said, to the village board at a later date and review the layout and some of the particulars, and we'll also meet with John Turner in the meantime and go over things.
So a question, I guess an additional question I have is if you go ahead and you sign up your vendors, what happens in the worst case scenario if the virus flares up because, you know, situation around us flares up and we think we really shouldn't have the event? What happens in that circumstance? Have you thought that through? Do you have a plan in mind?
Yes, actually, that's exactly what happened last year.
Right.
So we went through the whole list and everyone either got a credit or they got their money back. So they got a credit for this year's or they received their money back. So
Okay.
that was something we already dealt with last year. So we're a little bit ahead of the game with that.
Thank you for answering that. I appreciate that. And, you know, I'm optimistic that things are going to go a lot better this year.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so if nobody on the board has any other comments or questions for Amy and Kathy, I guess you have our blessing to keep moving forward.
Great. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Feel free
Right.
to hang on for the rest of the meeting.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Mark Bias, Tim Hay, and Doc Santucci, Finger Lakes Cannabis Company, here to present to us a plan that they have for a possible dispensary in the village of Victor.
I think we've been working closely with Kathy. I think Kathy wanted to say a few words, kind of
Sure.
how we've gotten to where we are.
Sure. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but this will work just fine. I just wanted to kind of introduce this. You know, Mark Bias, he contacted me in March to discuss his business plan and a potential location in Victor for the Finger Lakes Cannabis Company. Since that time, I've assisted him with regards to the Victor startup process, kind of taking him through what would happen there, and then made some logical introductions as far as state and local officials, just for him and his partner, Tim Hay, to, you know, bounce the idea off of people new to us and new to Victor. And, you know, they needed to start talking to these people. So, you know, with that said, I just encourage you to listen, ask questions. I think you'll find that their concept, even though it is slightly, you know, controversial, a little new to us, absolutely. But I think you're going to find that it's very well thought out. They've done their homework, and it's really worth your consideration and your, you know, your attention. So with that, I turn it over to Mark.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Sorry to overwhelm you with so many people. I want to introduce everyone. So this is my wife, Julie. She will also be part of the business. Jacques Santucci, he's the consultant. He's the president of the consulting firm that we're working with. They're out of Maine. Jacques has, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 cannabis businesses that you started up and run. Tim Hay, my partner and good friend. And then the Salzbergs, who are village residents. And then Mandy, who is owns a business in the village. So we thought it'd be good to have some people that are, you know, people in the village, not village people, people in the village.
Thank you for that distinction.
You know, it just, if they have comments, yeah, so. All right, I don't know if any of you saw this. This popped up on the news last week. I thought it'd be great to share it. It's 3 minutes long. And it's basically in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. They're,
Just talk.
okay, they're roughly, I think, what, 4 years into legalization in Massachusetts?
Yeah.
And Channel 13 went and talked to them about what is their experience been, right? So they talked to local officials, they've talked to police officers, residents, and just 3 minutes, it might give us some perspective on how it's worked out for them.
Yeah, the issue is that the sound, I think is, there you go.
Yeah.
Did you notice that the guy's got a New York hat?
Yeah.
And he's in Massachusetts. He's got to be a hardcore Red Sox, a Patriots fan, but he put a New York hat. So you got to give it to him.
All right, how do I find my PowerPoint here?
Oh,
now?
sorry. I'm talking, but
That's okay.
Okay, so yours is this one.
Yeah, the
The first one.
517.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna go into presentation.
oh, you don't want to do that?
No, I do want to be in
Yeah,
presentation.
that's what I did.
Okay.
But people on Zoom.
Oh,
they're
okay.
gonna
I
see
got you.
this,
I got you.
right?
I got you. Okay. Again, thank you. This is a very brief presentation. I feel like it's very important to be totally transparent with the village and the town of what our plans are, what our brand is going to look like, the type of people the demographic that we want to appeal to, and make sure we're working in concert with the village and the town to make sure this works for all of us. So hopefully that'll come out of this. Now, if you have any questions about the industry in general and the whole legalization process, you can ask those too. I was on a webinar this morning put on by the New York State Cannabis Growers Association with 5 different, there was 3 senators and 2 assembly people that are running this for Governor Cuomo. So there was a lot of good information that came out this morning as well around timelines. The overall timeline right now remains to be seen. They're looking to have the New York State Cannabis Commission in place by the end of this session, this legislative session. Then they will start doing the regulations. Once the regulations come out, then we can start applying for licenses. There's, I think, 5 licenses that you can apply for. There's a grower's license. There's a production license, which they do extraction of the oils and things like that. A distribution license, a retail dispensary license, a delivery license, and an on-site consumption license. Our plan is, and I want to be very clear about this, our plan is to go for the retail license and potentially the delivery license. We have no plans to go for the consumption license. The way that it's the MRTA, which is the initial bill and regulations that came out, that was passed on March 30th, I think it was. You can be a grower, a producer, and a distributor, or you can be a retailer, on-site consumption, or delivery. So you can't do that whole life cycle. You can't be the grower and produce the products and also have the retail licenses. So just a little background on, and if you want to go through, you can Google New York State MRTA, and that's the original bill that went through and got passed at the state level.
Mark, if you wanted to become a grower,
Mhm.
get that license, you have to surrender your retail license.
Correct. And it's interesting because earlier on, when all the states really started embracing both medical and adult use legalization, some states you have to do all of them. And some states say you can only do certain pieces of it, but they're basically trying to, break apart the retail side of it and then the production and growing side of it. A little bit about myself, and I can email this out to the
Can I
team.
mention something about
Yeah,
this?
go ahead.
So you have to keep in mind that the cannabis industry comes from the activist standpoint, right? It's not like 15 years ago. And so I'm not an activist, but from what I understand, one way to get towns and states to accept the cannabis industry was to tell them, if you grow, produce, package, and sell in the same company, then you have it under control. And that's why for the past 10, 15 years, that vertically integrated model has been pushed by a lot of states. Well, come to find out, it's really different trades, right? You have horticulture, you got manufacturing, you got logistics, you got retail, and it's difficult to be successful, as you can imagine, in all those different trades. So more and more, the states are separating all those licenses, and they're trying to kind of give a chance to people with what they're good at.
A little bit about myself and the team. So I have lived in Victor and raised two boys through the Victor school system. I think since 1995, Julie and I moved here. I grew up in Penfield. I was honorably discharged from the Army in 1983. I was in the Signal Corps supporting the 82nd Airborne. Since then, however many years, I've been in IT sales mostly. So I've worked for some really big ones and some more small local ones. I retired in June of last year. And then when legalization hit, Tim and I started talking about partnering up and trying to do this. In my years in Victor, I don't know how many kids have come through. I've probably coached them. I coached lacrosse, football, and basketball all through the youth years of both my boys. My oldest boy, Sam, he graduated from Maryland, played lacrosse there at Maryland until he got hurt, then he coached. He's now living in Boston. And then my other son, Cole, thankfully, just is finishing up his last semester at Towson. So I'm not going to be, sorry not to be writing those checks. My wife and I we started our own business, of which Julie does all the work. And, she's the breadwinner in the family now. We have a budget blinds franchise. We actually have 2 territories that serves the Rochester area, which has been very, very successful. It's been a great business for us. So that's really about me. I know, Tim, you wanted to.
I've been president for the last 16 years, I believe, 16 years. I graduated from Pittsburgh Sutherland. I have 4 children. I have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, both of them who attend university with me and play Division I lacrosse. I've got a 16-year-old daughter who's in 10th grade, and I have a 13-year-old son in 7th grade playing lacrosse as well. I have always been in the landscape industry. For the last 11 years, I was running a wholesale large natural stone company, and I was managing people and opening up different points of distribution throughout the United States. Prior to that, I had a large landscape company which I had sold, and I also got into the restaurant business. I opened up a garbage restaurant down at College, Penn State, which was pretty interesting. And 2.5 years ago, I was in a pretty bad automobile accident, and while I was in the hospital and when I was recovering, one of my pain specialist doctor prescribed cannabis for me as a way to relieve pain and get off some of the opioids that I was on. And it was life altering. It really helped me out. It changed a lot for me. And this isn't just a business thing. This is something that I do believe in, and it helps many people.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
And then Jack, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so again, my name is Jack. I'm from France originally.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I'm from France originally, and I've been living in Maine for over 20 years now, where I cover a business performance consulting firm, where we help businesses during their life cycle. And I got the chance 11 years ago now, when Maine passed the medical marijuana law, to be part of a project. And like Tim was saying, I discovered what the intent was and also the business side. So we started a company called Wellness Connection of Maine that has now over 80 employees, 4 stores, 50,000 square feet of growth site, which is actually related to Constellation, because they're now part of Acreage, who is being bought by Canopy Growth, who's been funded by Constellation. So the industry has been changing dramatically over the past few years. And through experience at Wellness Connection, it allowed me and some of our investors to go in other states and do applications, start companies. And so we had projects from Maine to Hawaii. The past few years, a lot of projects in Massachusetts, which is very active. We had projects in Ohio and on other places. And among that too, I started a software company related to the cannabis industry. The cannabis industry is getting more and more professional, and until a few years ago, was not using best practices. So I'm big into best practices and also accounting and counting the cost. And so I started a software company to track the cost of the cannabis growth and being able to make decisions, because although the price are pretty high now, the margin are reducing, and the price is going to come down, and it's very important for the cannabis companies to look at what they do. So overall, we have, my company is 12 people now, and we have clients from mostly in New England and this part of the States for the past year because of COVID. But until COVID, we had clients around the country and started again.
Okay, thanks. So this is our team. Hopefully what you get out of this is we've been very organized and thought this out from a business perspective throughout the whole presentation. So Tim and I are the co-founders. Greg Lane has his own law firm, Lane Law LLC. So he's building a practice of his own. He does mostly real estate lawyer, and you find a lot of people that are in real estate get into the cannabis side of business. They kind of go hand in hand. So he is moving into a cannabis practice. Ryan Smith is with True Agent Realty. He's helping us with the real estate side of it. We talked about Nucleus One is the consulting firm. So we have 3 people on the team, including Jack. We've been working with Dana Bank Design. She's actually a friend of the family's to help us with creation of the logo, which is still a work in progress. And then we're using a CPA firm, DeJoy, Knopf and Blood, Morgan Hopkins and Stephanie Weaver. They're a good sized firm in the city, and they have a cannabis specific practice as well. And they're working with a number of companies, not just in New York, but throughout the Northeast.
You might want to invite CPA early on.
Yeah, I mean, to set the valuation of the company, there's a lot of really complex tax laws as well. There's a tax code called 280E that's specific to any sort of anything that's still federally a was it level 1 or level 2 drug. You can't, if you're in the business legally, you can't deduct a lot of the expenses. So there's a lot of tax maneuvering you have to do, as well as investors. They're helping us, put value on the company and put together proposals for the investors. So, legal is very important. CPA is very important. So I think we've rounded out a pretty nice team here of people that are, are a lot smarter than Tim and I in this industry. So the location, we live in Victor. We feel like it'd be a great thing for the community of Victor and the revenue that it will raise, and other social economic benefits that other communities have seen. We also want it to be in line with and near the Finger Lakes. You'll see that kind of our brand wants to be in line with the Finger Lakes tourism theme, and think of the craft breweries and wineries and the wine and beer trail and the eateries and boutiques and things like that. We want it to be stylish like that. We want it to be welcoming, and really it's where our location is there. It's the train depot there by Mickey Fens, and we're in the process of closing on that property. I don't think we made it up, but, we kind of look at Victor to be the Western gateway into the Finger Lakes. People that are traveling from Rochester, Buffalo, even the Ontario region, Western Pennsylvania, a lot of them come right down 96 and take a ride on 444, to do their tourist things, whether it's going to their cottage for the weekend, going to concerts, going on the wine and beer tours. So we want to really fit into that. And one of the next steps I have is to engage with the the Finger Lakes Tourism Agency and talk about how, you know, we can be woven into their story. We have done some demographic work. I don't want to get into all the numbers, but we're kind of looking at a 15-mile radius from Victor and the tourism industry as being our target market. We will be targeting, and this has been most of the dispensaries. Our target customers are, you know, upwardly mobile professionals. It's the one thing that you'll learn about dispensaries is the cost of the product is about twice as much as it is on the black market. So people that are, I don't want to call them undesirable, but younger people, people of lower income, they typically don't shop at these places. And by the way, if you have any questions about any of that, Jacques lived it. He's starting up a second chain of dispensaries, but that's not our target market. Our target market is people that use cannabis for whatever reason, whether it's for medical reasons, if it's to relax. At the end of the day, if it's as an alternative to using alcohol or other opioids, those are a lot of the drivers around people that use cannabis. We did look at most recent traffic studies, to my knowledge anyway, through Victor, and the average traffic down Route 444, so right at that intersection, 9368 was the average for May of 2018. And then actually going through Victor on Route 96 is 25,279. So I think Gary brought up that you guys saw the same thing, about a third of the traffic takes a right there on 444.
Comes from the south, goes to the south.
Mm-hmm. Any questions from anyone so far?
So I know you don't want to move numbers, but those numbers are not strictly population numbers. I mean, Barrington has 50,000 people.
Yeah, you know, I thought that too. I looked it up a couple different ways, and
It's just missing a zero.
yeah, maybe it is because I got it right off one of their websites.
I mean, Fairport, the village of Fairport.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I typically went to their web pages and just, you know, Googled. So, but thanks for that.
But you expect to draw Monroe County
Mm-hmm.
close to the border
The east
of
side.
Ontario County,
Mm-hmm.
even though they may have their own dispensaries,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, we're hoping that our brand and you know what we're trying to do, if someone, a lot of the dispensaries are going to be located in the city for sure, because part of the MRTA is they want 50% of the tax revenue and 50% of the business licenses to go to these social equity groups, which are women, minorities, disabled veterans, and distressed farmers, right? So a good chunk of these are going to go into the city. They have not announced how many licenses are going to be released for the different verticals. You know, we think we'll pull from, you know, this side of town. We're hoping that, you know, if people are in, you know, Pittsford or Fairport or whatever, they're gonna say, do I go to the city, or do maybe we go to one in Henrietta, or you know, even one locally, that they choose to come to ours. So, and it's all about, you know, executing around the brand and the marketing.
So I do have a question.
Okay.
You have a price point in mind in the plan
Mm-hmm.
for your dispensary. And I'm sure it's based, Jack, on other experiences in other states and so forth. What happens if you can't meet your needs at your price point? So you find out that, well, you know, we're charging too much. You just lower your prices? How does, you know, because what you're telling us here in the village is, you know, you're hoping to keep a certain clientele that you feel will be responsible to users. I guess is the way I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partially because of the price point that you're going to offer.
The price is going to start high because of supply and demand. The life cycle of production is such that it's going to take a while for everybody to produce to meet the market. Every state have done enough supply, so you know, the price is higher. Then after that, you have to think about retail. So it's a little bit like I always compare it to coffee shop. right? You can buy a coffee, or you can get a coffee in a lot of places, from your kitchen to the gas station to the local coffee shop to the Starbucks, and you go from 25 cents to $5, right? So cannabis is going to become kind of the same idea, where your store can price and have a customer experience that meets what they want to do. So at the beginning, I don't think the price is the question. You know, you don't have, it's going to be dictated by the producers, but then at some point it's going to plateau. It's probably going to come down, and then the customer experience is going to guide the pricing.
And either way, we'll continue to try to, be, roughly double of what the black market cost would be. So if the price comes down right now, I think a pound of cannabis on the black market goes for like $4,000. In retail, it's $8,000. So if that comes down to $2,000, then we'll be $4,000. So. Here's our location. I'm sure everyone has seen it. Again, we want to operate like we're part of the Finger Lakes tourist, like a Finger Lakes tourist destination. We plan on having, there's all sorts of dispensaries out there. There's ones where they want you to come in, get your product and get out fast. There are some that are trying to market to, different demographics as far as, the city ones. They're going to market to more, a different type of person than the ones in the suburbs will. And we want to market to the folks that enjoy the Finger Lakes region, and this beautiful area. We plan on featuring local artists, and you'll see kind of how that may set up in the building. Potentially, we want to build a bigger deck around there and potentially have some musicians. I know I've talked to Kathy about some things that the local development company wants to do with that space, and we feel like there's going to be some good synergies between what they're looking to do at the space. Security is huge in this industry. There's to let someone in who's underaged is, will kill a business.
What is the age?
21. It is 21, yes. Lots of cameras, lots of steel reinforcement in the building. It's almost like being a bank. We don't know what the regulations are gonna look like, but for instance, in a lot of ones you go to that are adult use, there's someone outside checking IDs and keeping an eye on the area, making sure people aren't buying the product, giving it to someone else, using it on the premise. And then typically there's a guard station inside that's looking at cameras, both outside and inside, just to make sure there's nothing going on.
With a walking, biking, running trail right next to the building.
Mhm.
I think that would be very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. I just lost my train. I was going to say something else. Yeah. Well, the point of sale system. Oh, that's what it was. We went and visited. Anybody remember Jimmy Wagner, star football player here? He's a senior person at one of the larger dispensary chains and growers in Massachusetts. We watched kind of what they call seed to sale, the life cycle of the product is. And from the time it's on a plant to the time it's harvested to the time whether it's packaged, they call flour in the raw form, it's called flour, or if it's a beverage or an edible, every gram is tracked all the way through the system using RFID codes, and until it's sold. So you have to account for every single piece of product that comes in to the time it's sold and leaves the door. And Jack, I know that.
There's no doubt that the state will mandate this, and they usually use a company called Metrc, METRC, and that that you have to pay, and they track the plant from the beginning to the end package when it's sold to somebody. They don't track who's buying it. They're tracking the fact that it got sold in the right way.
We plan on trying to use as much, source products and services locally as much as we can. We also plan to support local community social equity programs, as well as other programs. So, Julie knows one of my big kind of things I was big on, because I coached a lot of kids, and sadly we lost 2 athletes in Victor to the opioid overdoses. So we plan on using some of our funds to sponsor drug awareness and drug education programs. Whether it's, I know several speakers that we could bring into Victor to talk to younger kids, and also responsible use of cannabis products. I don't look at it any differently than alcohol. If you don't use it responsibly, there can be problems, whether you lose your job or get a traffic ticket. I will tell you that traffic fatalities and deaths is not near what it is in alcohol in states where it's legal today. I think that's and again, we want to give back to the community, and also there's the tax revenue piece of it. I don't know if you're aware, in New York, they've said that there'll be a 13% state tax on it, and then 3% of that goes to the local municipality, and 1% will go to the county. So there is significant tax revenue to help with this as well. And just like the person in Pittsfield said, that contributes to other positive things in the community. I think, Jacques, you were going to walk through some of this.
Yes, so there's a lot of words, but overall, those statistics show that the impact of marijuana or cannabis on the health and safety and in the neighborhood and in the region is not as grim as some people tend to say. First, Mark and I were talking about it earlier. You got to realize that cannabis is already all around us. So if you go with that concept, right, and then you look at the statistics, you realize that actually a store like Chipotle is actually helping monitor what's happening, and then helping people who are using it to have it in a safer way. And so when you look at the statistics in Colorado or the places, you also have to keep in mind that there's only 4, 5, 6 years that people have been tracking statistics, and a state like Colorado is one of the first one who really implemented adult use of cannabis. So that's where we get the most statistics. But they have not experienced any increase of users with young people. And they actually found out that the fatal crashes have been limited compared to what they were expecting and what they were saying for other causes. So, I mean, I'll let you read. I can read it for you, but overall, it shows that the impact on the community the impact of cannabis on the community is actually, when it's handled correctly, and then when there's education, like Mark is talking about, is much better than what people are expecting.
I think a big one there is the bottom one too, where adult use and medical has been legalized. Opioid, and it's so funny, like all the states, the numbers look very similar. Opioid overdose have dropped by 25% around, and it makes sense. There's 2 contributing factors, obviously, that it's a lot. You don't have these pill places that are just handing out scripts for OxyContin and things like that. The government has really cracked down on that, but also doctors aren't prescribing opioids as much. They're saying, I had a bout with cancer over the last 5 years. I'm fine now. And my doctor, who happens to be the head of urology at the U of R, he said, I would recommend that you use medical marijuana to help with stress and pain and anxiety and things like that. So that's a great thing. and a lot of people, especially the veterans, are getting away from they're replacing their opioid addictions and just using marijuana, right, to get that same stress relief and things like that. So I think that's big. And again, it's up there somewhere. They have seen from 6th graders to 10th graders, so that those adolescent users, in states where it's more mature, they've seen that the usage in those age groups have gone down. The reason for that is because it's knocking out the black market. It's not as easy for kids to go out and get it anymore because there's less dealers and there's a smaller black market.
Yeah, the goal here, one of the goals is to get the black market out of the equation. And the product between the black market and the store like this one is totally different product. The product that would be sold are tested, the black market is not tested. So Conessa will tell you that potentially the black market products are better, but at the end, the store is going to sell a product that's been tested, brewed without any tests in it, and then on top of that, it's packaged in a professional way, with packages that are child-proof. So at the end, all those things contribute to the fact that it's less valuable for younger adults.
So this is just more of what we were talking about. I wanted to put, some stats up there that came from places like the CDC and the Cato Institute, because those are credible groups that are pulling together these stats. And some of this is what we've already talked about. Something else that occurred to me as we're going through this, the other reason that especially adults will pay more is because they don't want to go to the black market. They don't want to meet some guy at Dunkin' Donuts who has a large amount of marijuana on them, and doing their trade, and then, have a policeman pull up on them. They want to go. They know what they're getting because of the packaging. It tells the percentages of THC and other elements in the cannabis, whether it's an edible or raw flower. They want to know what they're getting, and they want to know, just as the woman said in the video, that there's no risk, right? There's no legal risk, that it's safe. They don't want to drive into the city and maybe get it from someone who's shady, things like that. So that's the other reason why, more people are attracted to, going into these legal places. Any questions on any of those statistics or findings? Okay, great. Wanted to, I assume some of you have not been in a dispensary. They're not like going into a vape shop or, a drug paraphernalia shop. They're typically done. Some of them have a feel of kind of a pharmacy or maybe a jewelry store. Some of them, like the top left one, that is sort of the look and feel that we're going for with ours, more like kind of a country apothecary or general store. I think the top right one, that one, that's one of Jacques' dispensaries. So they're nice, stylish places where they're run, they're clean, and it's very important to have a professional staff to be able to talk to people and explain to them what they're buying and what the different attributes are of the whatever product it is that they're buying. So, typically you go in these places, they call them bud tenders. They can tell you exactly, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get a better night's sleep? Are you trying to relax? And they can point you to the right product.
Are there associated products that are sold along with the cannabis, or is it all of what we're looking at is just all different kinds and bottles of cannabis?
So it's probably 95% THC based product. So flower packaged in different ways, like a pre-roll. Don't want to roll themselves up to an ounce. Then vape cartridges, concentrates, and different type of concentrates. And then you have what we call edible. So that can be in different forms. That some can be like a gummy style chocolate. Chocolate is very popular. It's easy to eat, and then you can dose it easily. one of the issues, less and less the issue, but there's not enough research on how many doses you have to have. So with chocolate or gummy, you can dose it. And then drinks is for the past couple of years is just coming up. So seltzer, right? When I said seltzer, it's non-alcoholic seltzer, juices of sort, things like this. Like Sam Adams just announced today that they're doing a test in Canada, and I heard that they're going to the market.
So if Constellation came out with a product that was like an alcohol-based cannabis product,
I don't think anybody's going to go to alcohol and THC because that's kind of a little bit
they're separate.
it's separate.
Yeah.
Right? All the drinks, they're non-alcoholic, but they infuse with THC. That's I'm not a microeconomist, but that's probably why Constellation invested $3 billion a couple of years ago because they also see the impact of cannabis on the alcohol industry, and so that's probably a way for them to kind of invest in the future. And the drinks are better and better in quality. A few years ago there was like a real taste because there was not enough research available, but now you buy a seltzer and it feels like one of those kind of a seltzer we all had last summer, fresh and just different type of drink.
Yeah, my last job, we actually, my team did a consulting engagement with Constellation when they announced they were going to get into the cannabis business. So it was interesting. We had, CFOs and COOs and all these executives sitting around a room in St. Louis, talking about what's our cannabis strategy going to be. And they brought their chief cannabis officer too, who was an interesting person. So, yeah. But yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, the market for drinks is bigger and bigger because they're going after a new type of consumers that is using alcohol and is not using cannabis, and they're seeing that opportunity right there to sell a product that is a little bit different, and like the young woman, 25 years old, that just want to have a drink and fresh drink, but not alcoholic, and the THC-based seltzer is that's the market.
These are just some more shots. You've seen this. This is the inside of, if you haven't been in the building, it's a really beautiful building. It fits perfectly with our theme and the shopping experience that we want to have. The top is, I guess it would be more on the east side of the building. So as you're facing it off to the left, and that's really where right now we're envisioning the main dispensary to be. And then the other, the bottom part, that's actually a separate business space. So we're buying the entire building. And we see that to be used for other things, any kind of merchandise, whether it be t-shirts or hats or coffee mugs, things like that. And potentially, maybe doing some neat events there or things like that. So, that's still a lot of stuff that's in the works. And then there's a tenant in there now, AAA Mattress, and it's an online mattress company. And then there's a woman who, her plan is to put a martini bar in the blue boxcar. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I mean, she's having trouble, I think, getting her licenses or something. But anyway, we'll be one of, we'll own the building, but we'll be one of 3 tenants occupying the space.
The caboose is not included.
It is. Yeah, we'll own that as well.
This came that way, right? Wasn't your choice. That was
Right.
the package.
The existing owner has that. Okay, so this is kind of what we've done to date. Our closing date on the property is July 1st, if we don't run into any issues. In no particular order. Well, Kathy Rayburn was the first person that we reached out to get her thoughts on it and get her help around, how we can make sure we're working with the proper officials. We met with Jack Marin and presented our plan to him. He was very receptive to it. Jeff Gallahan, we met with him. He was receptive. He came out and said, he goes, I voted against legalization. He goes, it's not because I'm against people using cannabis. He just felt like a little bit more work needed to be done in the bill before it was released. But he's like, hey, listen, you know, it went through, the bill passed, the horse is out of the barn. You know what, we should make sure that we're taking advantage of the revenue that can bring into the local area. Samra Brook, she is the senator responsible for our district. We've talked with her, she's very supportive. Joe Verdosky, he actually sits on Senator Cooney's staff and is responsible for communications out of Senator Cooney's office. Senator Cooney is kind of one of the sponsoring legislators that is in Albany. I heard somewhere today that he may very well be appointed as one of the 5 people on the Cannabis Commission that's being put together by Governor Cuomo now. We met with Mike, we met with Gary. I also met with Dave Condon to get his thoughts. And what I don't have up here is I also met with Steve Metzger. And it just so happens that my son and his son are roommates, and he may be important to, you know, as his company's specialty is to build out facilities where there are, you know, security requirements. So he does the Monroe County jails and things like that. And, you know, I think that the reception so far has gone from supportive. I think everybody likes the idea of the revenue to, you know, we need to learn more. I think, Gary, you know, we need to learn more. We need to hear what the citizens think about it and, you know, understand any impacts that it can have on the village. So presenting to you guys today. And we're also, you know, one of the big ways that you can fail is not set up your supply chain well, right? You need to, so we're already meeting with folks that are growers and producers. Some of them are growing for the medical marijuana market right now. Some of them are just planning to, you know, they're farmers that are planning to get their licenses. And there's a lot of those. And we're not really there yet. We're kind of maybe talking to some investors about our idea and would you be interested, until we know really what the valuation of the company is going to be, how much is a license going to be, when will we be able to apply for licenses. It's kind of a waste of time, right? Because they want to see a really strong business plan and financial plan before they invest. Again, here's a timeline. You're going to hear a lot about the timeline. I know Governor Cuomo came out and said his goal is to have dispensaries opening by May of next year. I don't know how realistic that is. It's going to depend on how quickly they get the regs out. That's probably not going to happen until the end of this year. Once that happens, people have to start their crops. And it takes a good, 6 to 8 months to go from when you plant it to when you can deliver your product to the dispensaries and your customers. So, remains to be seen. I've heard anywhere from the last part of to the beginning of 2022 to the end of 2022 or well into 2023. It's going to really depend on how quickly Albany moves. So. Again, some of we plan on hiring locally. We'll probably create 20 to 30 jobs. They're going to be high-paying jobs. When I say high-paying, full-time employees will provide benefits, and we'll be starting at probably $15 an hour, which I guess isn't as high-paying now that people can sit home and make more than that. But anyway, yeah, we want to hire. We want to create some jobs here locally. And our goal, if someone said, what is your mission statement? It's, we want to have a really nice, unique experience that fits in with the Finger Lakes tourism industry, that people say, hey, have you been to the one in Victor? It's a great experience, nice, friendly educated people, great customer service, and it's just, a nice shopping experience. And that's really all I had. I would love to answer questions. I think it would be, we brought people from the village and, intentionally to make sure that, you ask them any questions or any concerns that you may have. So with that,
I got 2 questions.
okay.
What's your hours that you plan on selling?
We were just talking about that, probably something like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays would be shorter days. It'd be seasonal too, because in the wintertime, you guys see it in the traffic going through Victor and going through the stores. It'd be shorter hours, right? We don't want to pay a bunch of employees if we're not getting the traffic that we think. So probably something like 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 in the evening. And that's typically what you see around the country.
The other thing, the other question I have is, unless it's changed, you can't store your money in a federal bank, correct?
That's not the case. That's not really the case anymore.
Okay.
So still to be seen what banks locally is going to do, but around the country, except Hawaii, every state has a couple of banks that accept deposit.
Okay.
To a point that even some banks now are lending on real estate. And so I'm sure in a state like New York, there's going to be 2 or 3 banks going to jump on it. And at the federal level, they haven't really done anything. And like in Massachusetts, there's 3 banks. Maine, we have 3 or 4. Hawaii is the only one who's that issue, and their issue is because when they move the money from one island to the other, they're going through federal waters, and they haven't figured out how to do that. So, and then based on this, it's mostly still cash, but there's more and more. So Visa and MasterCard are not going to let you do it. Some companies are telling you, yes, you can take Visa and MasterCard, but they're going through offshore accounts, and I don't recommend it. So, but there's 3 companies now that came up with like a PayPal version of it. One is called CanPay, one is called Hyper, there's another one that's called Kind. And you as a consumer, you will create an account, and Mark as a business would have his account, and a bank is the clearinghouse, and they transfer a little bit like an ACH, right? And so it limits the number of the amount of cash.
Because it is a cash bill deal mostly. Where are you storing the cash?
So
You said you're going to have a lot of
less and
bars
less
on the.
people-
Is it going to be in the building? I don't care where you store it.
So people
Is it going to
pay.
be in there?
People
Or is it
pay
gonna be
more and
someplace
more
else?
with an app, right? So the amount of cash is reducing. And like in a state like Ohio, there's companies that actually give you a safe that counts the cash for you, and then you can't even touch it, and it's safe in the location. So that's usually the solution we suggest. And I'm sure one of the bank here is going to adopt that because it's a good way for them, it's a good way for the business. And usually that safe is within the safe, what we call the vault or the safe room, which is where the cannabis product is. So it's in the safe place within the safe place.
These are steel reinforced rooms. Actually, we do our business banking for our budget blinds business through the Victor Canandaigua National Bank with Amy Fleitz. I've spoke to her several times and asked, do you think you guys will take our banking business? She went and talked to the president of the bank and got back to me and said, and he's a lawyer. He said, yes, as long as it's legal in New York State. We had lunch with a couple of gentlemen that are putting together a growing facility in Rochester, and they're in the hemp business today, which is kind of the same type of thing. And he's doing business with Canandaigua National Bank. So
great questions, Todd. Thinking about his point about where you store the cash, and you got a safe and a safe and a safe.
mhm.
What has been the experience in other states with robberies and, crime surrounding the value of the cannabis?
Yeah. So in all the projects I've been involved, including ours, our 4 stores in Maine, the company was doing at some point 20 million in sales, and we never had any robbery. We had one robbery one night, The guy showed up at like 1 a.m. and smashed the window and smashed the computer, but there's no product on the floor right at night. And plus we got him on video, so that was, the police had found it. Otherwise, never any issue. And same in Massachusetts. I don't know anybody in Massachusetts. I honestly, I don't know any places that had robbery for cash. And then robbery for cannabis. I mean, we had that experience. I don't think the guy was looking for cash. He was looking for cannabis. And but the cannabis is in a room that's kind of a secure. You have a few motion detectors. So it's beside that experience, we never had any issue.
And what about as a customer? You go and you buy your product at 9 o'clock at night.
Yep.
Is there any history or statistics on customers being robbed outside of the building or on their way home or whatever?
I don't have any personal statistics or stories. I mean, I see it just like us going to the ATM or going to buy a bottle of whiskey. I don't think none of us have stories about somebody getting robbed, because they went to buy a 6-pack or get some cash at the. I know it happens, but it's not as common. So no, we had some cat fights, if I can call it that, like this on the parking lot because people know each other and they don't like each other and they jump on each other. But it's more social issues than it is, related to cannabis. I think it could happen other places, but otherwise we never had, anybody getting robbed. I mean, you have to keep in mind that people don't get out with a bag that says I have cannabis, right? It's a paper bag or a plastic bag with no names on it. It's in your bag. So most of the time, people jump in their car and they drive away. And the average ticket is $90 or $100, right? So people don't have a lot of cannabis on them. It's not as much valuable than anything else that we all buy on a regular basis.
I've seen, given some of it's anecdotal, but in smaller towns where there might be a larger black market drug trade, whether that be opioids, heroin, marijuana, they've actually seen what they call serious crime rates go down, right? Because there's a lot more stick-ups and problems trying. Less people are going out and trying to get opioids on the black market, and there's just a lot of unseemly people that can be involved in that black market, and so some of the communities have seen serious crimes like that go down.
And most of the time, there's a security guard or somebody checking IDs. And when there's too much people, we usually put somebody to do the traffic with cars, or like a 4th of July weekend, there's always more traffic, so you have somebody trying to help people coming in and out to kind of limit, any potential issues.
Anybody have any other comments or questions? Anybody from the public?
Well, I'm listening to Mark talk, and one thing he didn't really touch base on is, you can eat it, you can smoke it for to be high, if you will. But there's other benefits to it. An example: we actually went to Colorado a couple of years ago, and my knee, I had ACL surgery, and to make a long story short, my knee was like this, and I thought, I am so mad, I'm not going to be able to hike and this and that. So I'm like, we're going to a dispensary and I'm going to get some lotion. And you can buy CBD lotion everywhere you go now. And I've heard many people say it doesn't do anything for me. Well, in Colorado, you get it with THC in it. Now, I'm rubbing it on my knee. You don't get high from it. I felt no effects from it that way. But I swear to you, where is a Bible? The next day we went hiking and I was hiking. My knee just completely was day and night. And we have, Tim talked about it, another good friend of ours who was in a very serious biking accident, Len Davison, who's in Farmington. Len has a lot of aches and pains too, and he uses, he'll go to Massachusetts and get some lotion with the THC in it, and he's like, I put it on my feet every day, and he's like, the pain just goes away. So I think there's a lot of people out there. It's not just to get high. There's a lot of other benefits to it. My little part.
You'll be selling the lotions.
You were saying the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's
Jeff's aunt.
Yes, he has Samantha son in a wheelchair since she was in college. She's our age, and she has several issues. She can't sleep, and so now her doctor's getting her to be able to use something to help her sleep. But she also has a lot of leg spasms because she's in a wheelchair, and it's how she functions now. So. And we also, I know what happened with Tim and Julie's familiar story, but I have a very dear friend that has Huntington's. And, there's so many things that could help him, but he's not, well, he can't drive. He's not going to head down to the city to get some ointment to help, So I'm more interested in the health and wellness part of this. And the more I read about it and the more I hear about these people, it's like, there's some legitimate issues here, insomnia, anxiety, which there is a high rate right now with everyone, glaucoma, cancer treatment. It's endless. They're in major studies right now for, our brother-in-law has Alzheimer's, and they're studying that now to help slow the progression of Alzheimer's. So I'm more interested in the health and wellness part of this, and I think it's great because, Mark aren't just opening a cannabis. They're opening like a shop to go to, like with gifts and local artist things, and possibly, have music there and have the healthier part. Like, I love how they both said that they really want to educate our community. Like, so if someone walks in there and says, I just can't sleep, they actually are going to have people there that can say, all right, well, tell me your sleeping habits and what do you, and help them get through this and keep people's lives. So I like that part of what their vision of this is, to help the community, bring in revenue, bring in people for small business. I'm sure Mandy would love 1 million people coming to her yoga studio, just to get Victor kind of more on the map, so that, we have a lot of people not only in the summer going to Canandaigua Lake and all the wine trails, but we have people going to Bristol Mountain in the winter. And I just feel like it's something that can be for everyone, not just people that use cannabis.
Yeah, and I know you guys can opt out of it. Every year it's going to be revisited, and Tim and I are long residents here, and we care about the community. The next person that comes in, whether they're from RJ Reynolds or one of the big pharma companies, they're not going to care. They're not going to be as thoughtful as we're going to be about this.
I have to tell you that there's no cities, once they say yes, they don't go back out, because if it's done properly, then it brings jobs, and usually it revives some buildings, because most of the time the stores go in the building that was abandoned for a while, because usually the buildings that are full, they have a mortgage on it and they don't want to deal with cannabis. So it has a double purpose. It creates jobs, it revives buildings, and create opportunities. And that's why there's more towns and cities and villages that are looking into it. And it's interesting you're saying the average consumer is female in their late 40s, which is funny how you were explaining this, because that's the population. It's not the only like.
Yeah, and I would also compare it to prohibition, right? During prohibition, there was a lot more crime. There were people dying from drinking bad alcohol or literally going blind. I think that the communities where it's being legalized are seeing a lot of the same things. It's better. It's not going to make people use cannabis really more or less, except for there are some people, and I know people that that be at a party and someone will have something like, oh geez, I never do this because it's illegal, and I don't want to do anything that's illegal. There'll be a rise in those types of customers, but for the most part, it's here, and why not regulate it? Why not reap the benefits of the revenue that it can bring into the community? That's my 2 cents.
I guess I'll I've known Julie and Mark for 20 years anyway, and him and his kids and Ken for 10 or 12. I've never seen them do anything that would embarrass themselves or anything that I've seen them do was pretty much to the benefit of somebody else. And given the chance, I know if the village or the town or the residents had a legitimate complaint, they would listen to it and react. And, the problem solvers is not the problem. There's nobody that can deny we're not at a different time here than we were 2 years ago. Businesses are making different, they're tweaking their business plans and completely revamping them to balance their sheets, and you guys are a business. The decisions that you might have made 2 years ago, you might look at different ones forward. But they're stand-up people, and they lay roots here. And, if they weren't here, somebody else would be here giving their plan.
Appreciate your comments.
Yeah, I mean, if there are concerns in this room that, I would love to hear them. Maybe you have to think about it. And Gary's got my email address, and we welcome any feedback, concerns, whatever it is, right? Like I said, total transparency.
Yeah, so, I was honest with you when I met with you before. I'll be honest with you tonight in front of the public. And I had mixed feelings about it. I understand the benefits, particularly the revenue benefits. I understand it's here, it's real, it's not going to go away. I understand all of that. But there also is a downside to it because, more product available, I don't care what you tell me or anybody tells me, it means there's going to be more use. It's kind of like guns. If you have more guns, there's more potential for those guns to be used. So there is, a reason for concern in my mind on behalf of the residents and everybody in the community. I don't have the feeling that, my opinion is going to sway too many people, but I also told you, and I'm not saying that I'm against the concept of a dispensary, particularly the way you presented it here tonight. Obviously, you thought it through, you're well advanced in the process, and you're going down the right path with it. But the other thing I did tell you guys when I met with you before, I do think you should probably meet with the superintendent of schools because there's varied opinions. I work there.
Yep.
I'm sure you would find varied opinions there. But you probably find just as many people for as against. But I think that is a critical place, to talk to the administration and whoever wants to listen.
Yeah, I actually want to get in front of him and the athletic director, right? Because they have a big say, and we have a great athletic program, and they're going to want to have a say in this as well.
Right, and if everything comes true that you guys are kind of predicting tonight, how well this will go and the educational process and so forth, to do nothing but help teenage kids.
Yeah.
If it really is done right. And if the money does go back into education and prevention of abuse kind of programming, which is what the school district's going to be looking for.
Yeah, I have a slide that I had here. And then we'll finish up. I can find it. It kind of shows how the revenue is going to be broken out by different programs in New York State. How do I get into the PowerPoint?
This, I've got a question for you. Have you talked to the towns and villages around you and see how they plan on?
I have not at this point. had a chance to do that. I've
That's
spoken,
what I was gonna say, like, it's legal, could it be somewhere?
oh yeah, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh probably will not. There's no bake shop, there's no pet food parlor.
There's no parking.
No parking.
You know, Farmington, certainly Bloomfield, but I don't think Pittsburgh. Yeah, I don't know.
So I didn't go through this, but I thought it'd be interesting. This is how the MRTA is written as far as the tax distribution around it. So 40% to the Community Grants Reinvestment Fund, 40% to education to add the state's current investment in education. And then the remaining 20% is going to be spread across mental health services, youth cannabis use prevention, public health campaigns, drug treatment prevention and reduction, provide for vehicle traffic and other public safety measures. You know, you can read them on and on. And again, you know, Senator Cooney has said that he wants to make sure that Rochester is the benchmark for how to make this successful and to benefit the community as it's you know, planned and laid out by the folks in Albany. So
I'm with him. I think that's a good goal, and I think it's a reasonable goal in the greater Rochester area.
and we want to be the benchmark for Rochester.
So the part there, 40% goes to education in order to add to the state's current investment in education. Is that the general education fund?
I literally cut and pasted this out of the MRTA summary. There's a document that kind of summarizes the points. So, and I did it today. So I
You can spend a lifetime going through the legislation, that's for sure.
wait till the regulations come out.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I've sifted through some of it, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah,
there's an awful lot.
it's tough reading.
It's wonderful that there's gonna be regulation, but it makes you wonder, there's so much, how will they possibly, you know, enforce it? You're gonna have a whole army of people dedicated just to that.
Yeah, in Massachusetts, actually most states, that's what they do. They hire like 40, 50 people and they do inspections all the time.
Well,
When Massachusetts rolled this out, what, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Did they also allow villages and towns to essentially opt out of the?
It's
It's
becoming
very
the
similar
trend.
very similar to what we're going through now.
Yes, it's becoming the trend. Almost all New England is doing it that way.
What,
You have to opt in or you opt out depending on it.
how does it tend to break down as far as the number of villages, towns that say, no, we're not going to allow it to the sale or versus?
So it's usually the areas where they have some economic issues that say yes right away because they're trying to attract, you know, businesses and create some jobs. And usually the not in my backyard kind of towns that just, you know, they do the same thing for real estate. They do the same thing all the time. That just they opt out and they wait to see what's happening. And then one after the other, they opt in.
If you opt out, if a town opts out, do they not receive any of the income, the tax income that comes?
No money, I think, but I think it depends on which state. I don't know.
Right,
They don't-
that'd be a-
So if
I'm
you
pretty
opt out,
sure.
you get nothing.
Yeah, but then you can re-opt back in the following year.
Yeah, for sure that 4% would go away.
but once you opt in, if you will, or you don't opt out, you can't change that going forward. Is that correct?
After a year, and after a year.
After a year? Every year? Or is it just a,
You mean
I haven't read that far.
You in to go out?
yeah, you decide after a year, some crazy reason, nah, this is not
Yeah.
right. You can then opt out? Because I was under the impression you can't.
I don't know about in and then out. If you're out, you can go in. So I'm not
I
sure
get-
about-
I get that part.
That's
I'm
what
talking
we
about the
understand.
reverse.
In and out. And who knows what New York State's going to say?
Well, you have to keep in mind that it's a heavy investment. So if a business, you know, retail or cultivation, right? I'm talking in general. I mean, cultivation, you're talking about millions of dollars being invested. And 6 months later, you tell them, sorry, pal, it's not going to happen. That's probably going to be a difficult one.
Yeah.
Mark, I got a couple things.
Sure.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but explain to me consumption again. on the front, on the premises?
So that's a separate license that you can get. We do not plan on getting that. I'm just liability insurance alone is a deterrent, but I can make that promise to you that we will not go for a consumption license.
So, I don't know if anybody in the room can answer the question. I mean, Jack, you're probably the smartest guy. But I know it's so new in New York State. Can we as a municipality allow distribution without consumption?
Yeah, it's different licenses.
Okay.
So you could say just retail, no consumption,
No on-site consumption.
no on-site consumption.
Yeah, you can't restrict all
Yes.
consumption.
Yeah.
Right.
So now in the States, people can grow their own plant and they can use their own plant, right? Now what we're talking about here is the business side of it, right? So you can say, we're okay to have retail, but we don't want to have any lounges or things like that.
And from my understanding of the state too now is basically wherever you can legally smoke a cigarette, you can smoke marijuana.
Right.
So I guess, again, if I were a person against consumption on the premises, like I wouldn't want a roped off smoking area outside.
Right.
So, for the tax revenue, I don't know if anybody in the room can answer this question either, but would we get it directly or would we get it through the county? Through the county. But it's not gonna be siphoned off by the county.
I don't believe so. They'll get their percentage, we'll get our percentage based on the sale.
But
It's 1% of revenue.
Unlike sales tax then,
Right, 'cause sales tax, they siphon.
right?
Right.
That's a question, that's a good question.
No idea.
No, I don't know.
We need to
I
figure that out.
think, yes, I think it's above our pay grade for all of us.
Right.
So, well, my understanding the way it came down in the MRTA, the county takes 1%, the local municipality takes 3% of revenue.
But see, like right now, we get nothing. Our money, our tax revenue comes through the town. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So where I'm going with this is, regardless if the town says yes or no, I want, if I say yes, I'm solely saying it because I want the 3%.
Mhm.
Just for clarification, if the town does not opt out and there is a dispensary in the village, the town gets half of the 3% that would otherwise go to the village.
If they don't opt out, Reed,
Right.
what if they do opt out?
If they opt out, then the village gets the full 3%. And the issue that comes up may be that they opt out and then later decide back in once no dispensaries have located any place other than the village. Arguably, they share in the village profit.
Awesome, thank you, Reed.
Yep.
Okay, and then, I know you do this presentation a lot.
It's always different.
I think you're a little misleading in your opioid death rates against legalized cannabis between 99 and 2010, because the opioid death rate has doubled from 2010 to 2018. So, that's just my 2 cents. That, so that stat doesn't impress me when I know that the opioid death rate has doubled between 2010 and 2018.
It's prescription opioids.
Correct, that's what's doubled.
I don't know. I can find it. I've got it in my folder and I can provide that to you.
Well, like I say,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the numbers.
Yeah.
So, and then, as far as other towns go, I mean, I had an off the record conversation with a Farmington councilman, and he kind of indicated to me that they would not go that way, but certainly it's no different than me, one vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think you'll find in the newspaper that the city of Canandaigua had a straw vote where they supported, a dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
But weren't they also looking for public opinion on that? That's what the Democratic Congress said, I thought, because I had the article here on my phone.
So, well, I mean, I'm sure they'll seek public opinion, but they have more than enough votes to carry. So, that's all I have.
Mike, are you saying that the discussion you had with the Farmington councilman was that they were leaning, he thought they would lean?
He felt they were leaning towards no. Or that they know, okay. Which I told him I found hard to believe. But.
Yeah, my guess would have been that Farmington and Bloomfield would opt in, but I don't know.
But to Jack's point, they could be saying, let's wait a year and see what happens.
Well, the problem with waiting is, I mean, right, it's no different than anything else you wait on. I mean, you know, I got news for you. If you waited to buy a car until right now, you're gonna wish you had. You know, and if you waited to buy Google, you're gonna wish you had. And so, it's, you know.
If you wait, you're letting somebody else make the money because they're gonna go to the other dispensary in that town instead of coming here. And then you're gonna like that place or other ones and.
Right.
get
Well, the
accustomed
city of
to going
Geneva
there.
has said yes, you know, unofficially, Canandaigua and Rochester. So, you know, it's only 18 miles to the city of Rochester on 490.
This waiting a year is really a year and a half because the business got to start.
Oh, yeah.
And most likely, you know, the summer is the best time of the year. So knowing that on the timing, I mean, Mark and I, we had the conversation several times. I don't see it happening by next spring, 2022. You know, I know he doesn't like when I saying this, but I'm very surprised that the state gets their act together. And on top of that, they have to convert or start, you know, the manufacturing side. So I think we're talking mid 2022 or late 2022. So there is really something happening.
Right. I would tend to agree with that too.
Sorry.
No, I mean,
No, that's good.
it is what it is, right?
Yes, it is what it is.
Are we all set? Comments, questions? Anybody have any more? Well, we thank you very much for coming tonight.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much and your expertise on the topic. And we will certainly be continuing our consideration of this. And we realize, you know, this is not where we're going to sit here and wait till December to make a decision. So we realize we need to make a decision pretty soon. But one thing, I want to be able to sleep good at night, so.
Well, I just want to comment too. I mean, like they said, you're not going there to consume. You know, the plan is you take it home. There's so many people consuming already, so why not regulate it, you know, and have a little more control over it is the way I see it. You can have masses of people go to a bar and they're sitting at a bar and they're drinking over the legal limit and things, you know, bad things happen. I don't see marijuana there's a different comparison. There really is. I mean, I don't see people smoking pot, for example, and wanting to pick a fight, and I don't know. It's just a different mindset. It's just so much more mellower. So I've read.
I always tell the story of a friend who's a policeman, but he's a security guard, for the CMAC events and whatever. And he always said, he goes, we all 100% would rather work at a event where people are a dead concert than like a Buffalo Bills game or country and western. He goes, we like pot a lot better than brown liquor and beer.
They did an experiment in Europe for a soccer game, but they had alcohol and they authorized cannabis, and apparently there was a lot less fight around the two teams than this alcohol. I lost the statistics, but I thought it was fun. I mean, I don't know if you guys are into soccer, but there's always some fights.
We call it football here.
That's kidding.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. We'll let you get back to your agenda.
You were probably talking about the Dry Road project.
What's that?
Not my sidewalk, you were talking about the Dry Road project.
Well, yeah.
No, it's going so good.
Good.
I see you guys.
Yep. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, next on the agenda. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Michelle and Carol and Bob. I don't know if you've officially met Todd Smith,
I have not.
code enforcement officer.
I thought, welcome.
Thank you.
We're very pleased to have him with us going forward.
So I'll say two things while we're kind of in a thing. So my husband is from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, right? And so you have to remember, and I'm not saying this, this doesn't determine my vote one way or the other, but Pittsfield was very, very economically depressed.
Walks with them. I did do the firehouse. They're working on a bunch of things. And I did do the trademark. Tell me that. Well, JT was.
Can you hear me? I cannot hear any, I get no sound at all.
I can hear Reed now.
I get JT, I don't get Mike.
Can't hear me?
I can hear you now, Mike.
Awesome.
Can you hear anybody else?
What you guys didn't hear is you both took a pay cut. You'll get it in writing and tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
You're so comforting, Mike.
And it was all the code enforcement officer's idea. All right, so all Todd gave us a high level overview of all the successful work he's done and where he is in his training. And then we were just talking about, he's gonna send a letter to the owners of the Siciliano House about what is needed to potentially move forward with that project. And now we were gonna talk about the two houses at the end of West Main from Salvatore's. So, I mean, there's gotta be violations there. I mean, I'm not looking for violations.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there is.
Okay, so let's start, if I were you, you know, I would start compiling violations. You know, I think we've been very patient and so. Are you okay with that, Reed?
Their clients.
Okay, oh, I forgot, right, okay, so, but we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
So. All right, we're caught up.
Thank you.
Todd, you all set?
Yep.
So, next on the agenda is clerk report for the.
There you go.
Stay if you like.
Committed employees typically stay, but if you want to leave, that's fine.
I really like you guys. If I'm allowed to go. Right. I'm running now. Actually, I'm gonna go in the office and. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Thank you.
Okay. Minutes, May 3rd is there.
I can make that motion.
Motion by Michelle, second by Carol. Any comments or questions on? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
And I have a resolution. Yep.
Is there a motion for the payment of bills for abstract 24?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike,
Second.
second by Bob. Any questions or comments on the abstract? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And then the last in the clerk's report, I apologize, I took over the clerk's report, is the year-end encumbrances and transfers, which we have provided to us. So is there a motion for that resolution for the 2021 fiscal year and the budget transfers and encumbrances?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Carol. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mike. Now we can have discussion. Any questions, comments, discussion on it? So the encumbrances, audio-visual system we've been talking about. Overhead doors for DPW. Sidewalk repairs. And the LDC under celebrations. And then shade trees. The totals of that amount is 52,000. The reserve project / project transfers. Our equipment reserve, the computer reserve, drainage reserve, street reserve, our clean energy. I don't know if that's a reserve, it's a project transfer. Because we do intend to replace streetlights with LEDs. Adams Street feasibility study we've been talking about with the town for the last couple of years, which got delayed thanks to COVID. And then the water fund reserve, the joint sewer fund, and the sewer equipment reserve. Contributions to all of those. In the amount of $293,741. Any other questions or comments on the encumbrances and reserve transfers? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Pam, anything else? Actually, it worked out good that I took it over, so we didn't get the reverb. Director of Public Works, Mr. Turner.
Yeah, I really can't hear him, Mike, so I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
So, Morav's going along pretty well after.
Dave, can yours go up anymore or no? Can yours go up anymore or no? Well, I can fix that.
JT, go ahead.
Gee, okay. Morav's going along really well. The curbing's supposed to go in the day after Memorial Day. Our summer help started today, so I got 3 guys. Other than that, everything looks pretty good and on schedule so far.
Great, Gary said.
That's good.
You better when you can't hear.
What do you say?
He said you probably like it better when you can't hear him.
Okay. Thanks, JT.
Yep.
Trustee report. Tonight.
Like the vision. That and then conference with
Thank you, Carol. I'll just make a quick comment that I got an email from a volunteer, a resident in the village, volunteering to be part of the revitalization plan. So her name is Dawn Pearson, Valley View, and I responded to her. For again. So meantime, I've asked her for just a little bit of IO information about herself and what her interest to me through an email. So looking forward to that.
I'll go. Small everyday. Thanks, Barry for showing up, and thanks to his team for what they did for that. I really wanted his name. And they are more along in their so they focus on
Michelle? Anybody else? So I did my report. agreement with the Ontario County Planning regarding Harvey sent us contract and the basic, that is, hours that are allotted by the county. We're gonna be charged for the services that we have used Terry for over and above those 40 hours. And it's gonna be at a dollars and 55 cents per hour. Benefits. And from January 1 through we would have hours to utilize Terry should we need it all the time. Terry's been a huge help with that, I know already. That is what the contract is, and we are here to have the board authorize me to sign the contract or not. No service. I'll just quickly read the resolution. Contract with Ontario County. Whereas the Ontario County Planning Department allows 40 hours of services annually to the Village of Victor for services including code enforcement service. Whereas Victor has presented the contract paid service above the allotted 40 hours of code enforcement services. Billable at 55 per hour. January 12th, 2020 through December 31st, 2021. Now, therefore, we resolve that Mayor Gary has enter into a contract for code enforcement services with the resolution to be sent. Motion for that resolution. Motion by Mike. Second by Bob. Comments or questions about contract or the resolution? This-
He said started January 12th.
So, how much is it being charged? We have utilized three up to about 8 hours available over and above the 40 hours that we get. We have hours left. Okay. Not all the time. There's over and above the 40 hours. Anymore. How many hours do we owe them for? I'm just asking. Approximately 40 right now. 3 hours at $50. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? None. I appreciate it. No, it wasn't really what was happening next. I mean, 1 minute we'll shut down, the next minute we'll open them up, and you know, what does it mean for open?
And his monitoring for Terry's. And it seems like Terry is wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we don't know the ROI.
Terry's been very good at helping establish networking with others. And that's, I think. There. Okay. Then we have, to speak briefly. Approachment agreements. And somebody wants to put one of our easements. And we have basically kind of inherited the situation where it was a case. And that's, we followed that. With our approach. And I've had some discussion, read. Read, if you're hearing this, you can change it, but
Reed, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Reed?
I can hear you pretty well. I can almost get nothing from Gary. I can hear Mike pretty well too.
I'm talking about the easement encroachments agreement.
Yes, yes.
About. And I think we have somewhat agreed here. Still go forward on a case by case basis. Those agreements would be,
Sorry to do it, but if somebody could repeat what Gary just said, that'd be helpful.
Gary's saying that we're gonna do these encroachment agreements on a case-by-case basis. And then going forward, we're gonna put something in place, right, Gary?
right. Right, we'll work on. I'm back, come back out.
Hi, Reed. I'm not getting anything, guys. I'm not sure what happened. I can't hear anybody right now, even Mike.
Can you hear us now?
There you go. Yes.
All right. So then back to
I could hear Pam, but is Gary talking? I can't even tell anybody's talking right now.
right in front of you.
Well, can I jump in? Can you guys hear me? Okay, well then I'll start talking. Yeah, these specific two agreements we've looked at, and I think they make sense. I mean, as long as it works for JT to be willing to work around it, and I don't think they're going to be a big deal. In my opinion, I think we probably on a forward-going basis really do need to look at these on a case-by-case basis, because the nature of each easement is going to be a little bit different, and the nature of the work that needs to be done is going to be different, and the nature of what the homeowner wants to do and where it's going to go. I don't know that we're going to have a million of them, so I don't know that we really need to have a formula for exactly how we deal with every single one of them. It might not be entirely consistent from one neighborhood to another. But I think, you know, at this point, going forward on a case-by-case basis just makes sense to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I get that.
Can I let Reed go?
Yeah.
Reed,
Okay.
you can go. You're excused. Sorry, sorry about the issues. Do you have it? Wait, do you have a report?
I have nothing unless anybody has any questions they want to try to ask me. Okay, guys, have a
All
good
right.
evening.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye now.
He said, he goes, I'm gonna log off. I can't hear anything. How can that be? I don't get it. You were sitting right beside me. No, I don't. All right, well, we're still on YouTube, so go ahead.
Well, I read both proposals. I personally,
Okay, we can't use the fans, not that it's a big deal, but, because it's gonna go right by that fan right there. Gonna hang down right there. That's what he's saying, he likes that one better. Mhm.
I mean, I don't care. COVID, right? My home more expensive. I thought it was more detailed.
Well, he told me, because either one of them is gonna put the camera in the corner. Because of the way we're seated at the moment, so he told me that the first guy's camera would not zoom in enough for people to be able to see a presentation. And I don't know if that's true for the second one, because they both said they could zoom times 10.
Off the top of my head, but the people don't have to feel it. The people can be there, the camera can be right there, and I will see everything. Following it, and I say yes, but I say I don't take it.
Good.
Yeah. Against turning it perpendicular, yeah. Where the room used to be before this table. I mean, the board said. We rarely. Okay, so again, I think they were a small municipality. And it's offered nothing. And nobody ever wanted, COVID, nobody ever asked for it. So how much do we offer on a limited budget that they need to see? Use it very rare. Well, I mean, it is. Be practical. I mean, like. Want to use it more, broadcast it out.
Rather than feeling. If it adequately meet our needs.
I mean, the first guy acted like, okay, so there's no power underneath the table, because ideally, he says everybody should have a microphone, like they do at the top.
Right.
But we have no power over here. So he's like, well, we got it. We'll forget about that. And we'll put a microphone hanging down, because the room's small enough and it's quiet enough that it should pick up everybody speaking. Because he was at another one where it was a very open room, it was big, and it had a lot of echoing. So that type of thing would never have worked there. So then he said he's gonna have to put power over here somehow, because he needs to get the camera to work with the laptop. And so
My thing is putting the camera up there.
the camera up there so they can see everybody. The camera, we're talking about, the microphone's going in the ceiling. The camera is either going to be in that corner, or it can be facing here. Now, we're all not sitting here right now. So
legally, we can also do.
Yeah, so the second proposal said that we could start the camera there, and then when the time comes, move it there free of charge. That's it. Either way, we're gonna have to get an electrician, because we've got to get power there and something else over here, which I would not understanding, but then you saw you had those runners on the floor because there's gonna be a wire coming from wherever we hook it up to the table here. And to be ADA compliant, we had to buy that cover of the cord. I don't know, and that's why I should probably met with them. Okay. Yeah, because it's not, yeah. And no matter which way we go, I'm still gonna have to be running something. Somebody's gonna, it doesn't just happen by itself. There's things plugged in here, USBs to run the camera and the microphone, and still doesn't just run itself.
Well, I mean, so there's something. Hold back, maybe. No restrictions for people fully back. The options to come. I mean, it's worth the fun. So. I don't discount it being a good thing, but then I think we should take a step back, really decide how we want to write it. Do that, I think we should go right to the law. So, and that may.
One of these, were either of these two folks a company that did the town?
I don't know.
I'm
For-
gonna guess. We do them when they're not.
They
Oh,
didn't
is there
have a,
microphones
they
and
didn't have a,
things?
they had, yeah, they had the microphones, but they never had a camera.
Right. See, the key is the sound. It's not the video. The key is the sound. So when they built that, it's ready for sound.
And then the only reason I have two is because the library being that second. Involved, so we'll be in there. They had a pretty setup. They got, they're like, it's almost like the town, like a box where everybody sits. And then they have stand-up mics to come up above, not on the desk.
Hmm.
And then they have their. In the back.
The people, the first one that I contacted was a name I got from the South Bristol clerk, because she also gave me that price point. So that's where I went with them. And they also did the county supervisors meeting room too. Tuesdays are good for you still?
Well. Between both stores.
Oh,
So, just give me 48 hours.
because the first guy contacted me again today, because I got his quote right away and wanted to know if that we had any questions or anything. So he'll be willing to come out anytime. The other,
Tuesdays are typically good.
okay, the other one, he's local, but he's out of town a lot. So I think we'll get the first guy back and you can talk to him and ask him questions. And then we'll see what you think. And I mean, either one, I was really pleased with the prices. So very surprised and pleased. So yeah.
If the guy can come Friday, I can come Friday. this week.
Oh, he came in the afternoon because he had come back from Auburn. He was on his way back from Auburn, so it's like in the afternoon. Good God.
Like, back to. You do that.
For sure.
3,500.
I don't think either one's, I don't think we're gonna be able to use either one's cost and do it the way we need to do it. Yes. I don't think, we're flexible too, right? Like, I mean, if this isn't the best place for this, we can move. That's right. Or in another. Yeah, for Thanksgiving, so, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right.